The film begins in a sophisticated city called Metro City, a stunning city suspended in the sky, swimming above the ground that has been turned into a huge garbage dump for city uses. In this futuristic city, life depends entirely on robots, which perform everything on behalf of humans, from going to work to cleaning the streets, all thanks to the genius of Dr. Tenma, the Minister of Science and inventor of the advanced generation of intelligent robots. But as soon as a robot fails, it is excluded from the city and its fate is met in the deserted land below, where there is no place for failure in Metro City. In the midst of this technological life, we meet Toby, the son of Dr. Tenma, a young boy with a superhuman intelligence similar to that of his father, and perhaps surpass him. One day, while attending a lesson at his advanced school, the teacher surprises the students with a surprise test. There is tension and confusion among the students, as the questions seem difficult and complicated for all of them except Toby. Quietly and confidently, Toby begins to solve complex questions with surprising ease. He finishes the test in record time, and hands it over to the teacher, who can only be amazed by his accurate answers, to give him the final grade without hesitation. After his school day, Toby bids farewell to his classmates and hands over his bag to the robot assigned to accompany him, then takes the car with him. On the way, his father, Dr. Tenma, communicates with him via video call, asks him about his day and checks on him, then apologizes to him because he will not be able to take him to a science lecture, due to his association with attending an important press conference in which President Stone announces the Peacekeeper robot project. The call ends, but Toby gets excited, and decides he doesn't want to miss this opportunity to see the new robot. With his usual curiosity and intelligence, he changes the settings of his companion robot, Aaron, and programs its destination to the Ministry of Science. Indeed, Aaron executes the order and goes straight there. Within the Ministry of Science, we see President Stone in conversation with Dr. Tenma, and Stone's enthusiasm for the Peacekeeper project was evident. Suddenly, Toby enters the place, and the guards immediately stop him. But President Stone intervenes and asks them to leave him, after learning that he is Dr. Tenma's son. Dr. Tenma is annoyed by Toby's behavior and his change of Aaron's programming without permission, but President Stone sees the boy's intelligence as something special, and decides to let him stay and participate. But the mood changes quickly when Toby begins to mock the military weapons associated with the project, prompting Stone to order a guard to take him to a safe place. We then move on to the scientific conference, where Dr. Elvin, a renowned energy scientist, explains to attendees about an amazing discovery, the blue energy mass. Everyone is told that this mass is a clean, renewable source of energy, much more powerful than atomic energy. He reveals that he extracted it from the debris of a star that exploded in a distant galaxy, millions of light years from Earth. Dr. Elvin continues his interesting talk, explaining that the immense power of the blue mass can cleanse the planet of all pollution, bring its forests back to life, and rebloom trees and breathe nature after a long strangulation. As Dr. Tenma entered the meeting room with President Stone, the tension was palpable, as the president was not convinced by Dr. Alvin's words. However, Alvin continued his explanation, explaining that during their extraction of the blue mass, a red mass with very dangerous negative energy appeared. But the guards quickly interrupted him, taking the 2 blocks without his permission, angering him, and he warned them emotionally not to keep the 2 blocks together, as this could lead to a disaster that wipes out everyone. President Stone intervened coldly, announcing that he would use the 2 blocks as leverage for re-election by the city's residents. Meanwhile, we turn to Toby, who begs the guard not to lock him up, then takes advantage of the opportunity and steals the key from him, and manages to escape easily. We return to Dr. Alvin, who begs Tenma not to use the 2 blocks for military applications, because it poses a danger to the world. But Tenma replies that he is forced to do so, otherwise the funding of the Ministry of Science will cease, and all research will be disrupted. Tenma then activates a highly sophisticated robot called the Peacekeeper, asks his assistants to provide him with the blue block, and the robot begins to move towards it. But President Stone stops the operation, asserting that the blue block has positive energy, while he wants to turn the robot into a destructive weapon, not a machine to rescue dolphins or plant trees. Stone insisted on equipping the robot with the red block, despite the objections of Dr. Tenma and Dr. Fan, who warned that this decision would create an uncontrollable monster. But Stone ignored their warnings and directed the robot toward the block, absorbing it and operating it using negative energy. Meanwhile, Toby sneaked into the same place unnoticed, and approached cautiously to watch what was going on. The experiment began, and the new robot, Peacekeeper, embarks on a fierce battle against drones, destroying them intelligently and quickly, and absorbing their remnants to turn them into defensive weapons that it uses with amazing effectiveness. The scene impressed the attendees, and Dr. Tenma interpreted it as an absorption technique that enables the robot to evolve on its own. Toby had gotten too close to the action, watching the robot with fascination, but once the battle was over, the Peacekeeper spiraled out of control and sped towards Stone and the team. Fortunately, Tenma was able to activate the separation wall at the last minute, but the disaster was that Toby was isolated inside the area with the robot, and worse, the wall broke down, and it could no longer be removed. Tenma tried to reassure Toby, while the Guardian of Peace was preparing to strike the wall using the power of the red mass, generating a tremendous lightning that threatens a devastating explosion. After the massive explosion, Dr. Tenma is shocked to discover that Toby is completely gone, leaving only his hat. In the chaos, the Peacekeeper manages to open a breach in the separation wall in preparation for escape, but Dr. Alvin takes advantage of the guard's preoccupation and shocks the Peacekeeper with a positive energy cable, which hinders him from leaving. Shocked and sad, Tanma picks up his son's hat and feels the bitterness of loss, blaming himself for what happened. Days pass, and Dr. Tenma begins to implement a bold plan. He uses advanced technologies, missiles and military equipment to make a special robot. When he finishes designing it, we discover that he is making a replica of Toby. He extracts a hair from the hat and extracts DNA from it to retrieve Toby's memories and instill them in the robot's memory. When everyone is asked to leave the lab, Dr. Alvin stays by his side trying to console him, but Tenma continues his work with determination. After the robot is complete, Tanma announces that this creature will truly think of itself as Toby. At that moment, Alvin presents him with the blue mass warning. This robot will not compensate him for the loss of his real son. Despite Dr. Alvin's warnings, Tenma decides to place the blue mass inside Toby's new body, and begins the process of operating it using advanced electrical appliances. But as soon as the mass begins to react, huge electric sparks explode through the lab, causing destruction and a violent explosion that topples Toby. Tenma is frustrated to think that the experiment has failed, but suddenly, Toby moves, stands up and approaches him to hug him. At that moment, Tanma's heart is filled with joy. He thanks Dr. Alvin and then takes Toby home. The next morning, Toby wakes up to find his father next to him, and he spends the night by his side checking on him. Over breakfast, Tanma tells him that he won't go to school anymore, but will teach it himself, and Toby rejoices at the idea. But when Eren sees Toby, he discovers his truth as a robot and is shocked, and tries to tell him, but Tanma prevents him from doing so. Tenma begins by teaching Toby and gives him complex mathematical equations, which Toby can easily solve. Tenma is fascinated by his intelligence, but the surprise occurs when Toby touches the equations and turns them into funny cartoons, which makes Tenma upset. He responds by bringing huge and difficult books and leaving him to study on his own. Toby is surprised when he finds in a book the subject of aeromechanics and kite making, and immerses himself in the experiment with enthusiasm. Kites quickly spread all over the venue, and Eren plays with them, while Toby puts on his own hat and launches a glider that surprisingly transforms into 3 planes flying in unison, impressing Eren, who praises his intelligence. But this happy moment doesn't last, as Dr. Tenma suddenly enters and a kite hits him. He gets angry when he sees the textbooks torn and gets even more angry when he notices that Eren is wearing Toby's hat, and he violently ripped it off him, saying no robot deserves to wear his late son's hat. He then yells at Toby and asks him to go back to his room, which saddens the child and makes him leave silently. Burdened with sadness and regret, he calls Dr. Alvin admitting that he made a mistake thinking that a robot could compensate him for the loss of his son. He resembles Toby in form, intelligence, and even memories, but whenever he sees him, he remembers the misfortune that befell him. Alvin consoles him, explaining that the robot will never be a substitute for his real son, no matter how hard he tries. Meanwhile, we watch Toby grieving at his father's different treatment. As robotic cleaners watch from the window, he hears them mocking his haircut, and is surprised by his ability to understand them even though they don't speak human language. He opens the window and asks them why, but he loses his balance and falls, so the robots rush to save him. Before hitting the ground, he suddenly discovers that he has begun to fly, and is astonished, and finds himself flying uncontrolled, colliding with everything that comes his way. As Toby continues to fly, he finds himself inside a car tunnel and starts running at a tremendous speed, but as a huge train approaches, he manages to fly over him brilliantly, wraps around him and then precedes him, flying high in the sky until he reaches the clouds, spinning between them with great happiness. But he then descends at tremendous speed, breaking through a mountain and making his way through the rocks until he comes out of its top, deciding to return and tell his father what happened. Meanwhile, a military plane flies over Metro City, carrying Stone, a politician worried about losing the election. He is looking for a great achievement that takes him back to the square, and suddenly the general informs him that they have spotted a strange object flying over the city and emitting energy identical to that of the blue mass. Stone gets very angry, assuming that the block has been destroyed, and orders his forces to prepare to retake it immediately. Toby returns home excited, but is surprised by his father's conversation with Dr. Alvin, asking him to disable Toby and grab the blue mass, because he can no longer bear to see him. Toby intervenes stunned and asks his father why he is saying this. Dr. Alvin explains to him the painful truth, that he is just a robot carrying Toby's real memories, while Tanma views him as nothing more than an alternative. Tonma coldly tells him that he is not his son, but just a copy, and he no longer needs him. Dr. Alvin tries to relieve Toby, assuring him that he will find his place in this world, but Toby, heartbroken, announces that he is no longer Toby, and then leaves the place in flight, sad and lost. Soon, Toby begins to inspect his body to discover the shocking truth: it's a robot. While still in shock of discovery, he finds himself surrounded by military aircraft, piloted by General Stone. Stone is shocked when he sees Toby, and realizes that Dr. Tenma has lost his mind and built a robot similar to his late son. He orders his guards to arrest him. Toby takes off at a dizzying speed, and the planes chase him and release a sticky, glue-like substance to catch him. But he dribbles brilliantly, flying through buildings, causing some planes to crash behind him. However, they manage to surround him, clinging to him from all sides, but he does not give up, doubling his speed until he is free. In a human moment, he sees a guard falling, flies towards him, rescues him, and lands him on a roof. But Stone is not influenced by this noble act, but orders the release of the spirit of freedom to destroy Toby and extract the blue mass from him. Everyone is shocked by this cruel decision. Toby then traps a new batch of planes, but decides to confront. Once he's proven brave, planes flee in fear. Before the spirit of freedom, a giant advanced fighter jet emerges, opens fire on its cannons, and then fires violent missiles that knock him to the ground and surround him. By Stone's order, the plane unleashes a barrage of missiles, and in a massive explosion, Toby loses consciousness and falls from the sky of Metro City to the landfill. In the landfill, Toby wakes up among a pile of broken robots and their shattered parts, surrounded by a group of them asking him for batteries. Before he can respond, scrap metal is heaped upon them and disperses them and drives Toby away. Toby feels sad and isolated, until he finds a small dog to play with and give him some warmth amid the ruin. The dog follows him until he leads him into a deep hole, then pushes him to fall into it, and Toby falls into a trap. Toby is surrounded by a group of children, but they are soon surprised to realize that he is just a boy who looks like them, not a robot as they thought. They blame the dog for the mistake, then apologize to Toby and ask him about his homeland, and he tells them that he is from Metro City, and they are happy to meet him and sympathize with him when they learn that he was expelled from there. A girl named Cora introduces herself, and she has twins named Zane. Before Toby can introduce them to himself, 3 robots kidnap him and take him to their hideout. There, they tell him that they belong to the Robotics Protection Organization and immediately learn that he is one of them. Someone asks him if he is exempt from the robotics law that forbids harming humans, but he replies that he knows nothing about it. When he tells them his name is Toby, they make fun of the name and decide to give it a new name worthy of their membership, Astro. He likes the name and agrees with it. Then, they see a picture of a man named Hog, abusing and enslaving robots, and they plan to infiltrate his place using a secret weapon, Feather, to tickle him until he gives up. They rejoice in their strange plan, but suddenly Cora and her friends break into the place and trap the robots. Astro, Toby, intervenes quickly, convincing the robots that he is an undercover agent on a secret mission to protect them, to prevent his identity from being exposed. He leaves with the children, and when Cora asks him his name, he replies with a smile, "I'm Astro." Meanwhile, General Stone heads to Dr. Tenma's house, orders his soldiers to arrest Dr. Alvin, and then confronts Tenma and asks him where the robot he made is. Stone explains that he needs the blue block to equip the Peacekeeper robot, with which to win the support of the residents of Metro City and be re-elected. Tenma admits he made a mistake when he abandoned Toby, and decides to help Stone regain the block. We return to Cora and her friends as they take Astro to their secret headquarters, where Cora speaks the password and the door opens, only to Astro to be surprised when they enter a house full of children. He is surprised by the atmosphere, and then is shocked when he sees Hamig repairing a robot, thinking him evil at first, but Hamig shows him friendliness, and welcomes him warmly. Hamig tells him that he previously worked at Metro City with Dr. Tenma but was fired because of his sympathy for robots. When a baby bird comes out of its tools, Astro feels reassured and realizes that Hamig is a good person. In the evening, children gather around the dinner table and eat pizza, welcoming Astro as a new individual. He tells them that he is without parents, so the children interact with him and empathize, and he realizes that they are all orphans like him. Later in the night, Hamig checks on the children's sleep, then goes to Astro and consoles him, assures him that he has become a member of their new family, and then asks him to rest. The next morning, Cora and Zane go out with Astro to look for electronic parts to repair robots. Cora explains that Hamig uses these pieces to make robots to participate in the robot competition, which confuses Astro because he doesn't yet understand what it means. As they walk around, the dog points to Astro and writes that it is a robot, but luckily, Zane can't read. Suddenly, Astro glimpses a giant robot that has been broken down for almost a century. Cora tells him that this robot is called Zog, and it has been broken for 100 years, and it is impossible to restart it. But Astro insists on trying, examining Zog of Insiders, to find the power generator. It uses the blue mass to provide it with positive energy, but it doesn't respond initially. Astro resolutely doubles the energy until he finally succeeds in bringing him back to life, and a pair wakes up from his long slumber. In Hammig's workshop, he was training a robot when Zug, the giant robot brought back to life by Astro, surprised him with an accidental ramming, surprising Hammig. Astro asked how he managed to operate it, to which Astro jokingly replied that he had just kicked an old piece of metal. But when Hammig measured his energy, he was shocked by the result. His power was so miraculous that the device almost exploded, making him start to become suspicious of Astro. Later, Astro and Zane and the twins began cleaning Zug, washing it, polishing it, writing its name on it, drawing cheerful drawings on it, and having a good time as a real family. When evening came, Hammig was impressed by his new husband's appearance, and took a souvenir photo with them very happy. At one point, Astro was playing with the dog when he spotted Cora using a broken phone, and he asked her who she was trying to call. She told him she was trying to reach her parents in Metro City, but the phone wasn't working. Astro repaired the phone using his energy, but no one answered, so Cora was sad and told him her story. She lived in Metro City, but she lost sight of her parents and ended up here. Astro promised to keep her secret, and he almost confessed his truth, but backed down, telling her only that he was happy to be with her. The next morning, the three robots were planning to take revenge on Hammig on a street. Meanwhile, Hammig organized a festive procession for the robot, Zug, attracting a large audience. Astro was shocked when Cora told him that the parade was a prelude to a combat competition between robots, where each robot fought until it was destroyed. Inside the preseason arena, Astro tried to convince Hammig not to include Zug in the competition, but he did not listen to him, but electrocuted him to knock him unconscious, to the surprise of Cora and her friends. Hammig then revealed to them that Astro was a robot disguised as a human. Astro woke up to find himself in the battlefield, and heard Hammig announce to the audience that the Astro Boy is a sophisticated robot from Metro City. The first opponent entered the ring, attacking Astro with sharp blades, and Astro tried to dodge him without being destroyed. When Astro flew, the audience was impressed, but Cora and her friends were sure of his truth. When he tried to escape, he was shocked by the energy fence and fell to the ground. Astro skillfully confronted his opponent and managed to carry him, fly him, then stun and destroy him. Hammig launched another robot that looked nice, but soon split into two fierce robots, violently attacking Astro. He dodged attacks, made one hit the other, and then took advantage of the situation and destroyed them both. Hammig became angry and launched all the robots in the ring to attack Astro. But Astro fought them one by one, using his wits and the parts of his opponents as weapons, until he destroyed them all. The audience stood dazzled and greeted him warmly. At this moment, one of Stone's guards succeeded in locating Astro. Hammig, who lost his temper, pushed Zug into the ring to fight Astro. But Astro refused to fight, so Zug approached him, and instead of attacking, he carried him over his shoulders and held him high to the applause of the crowd, showing respect for his friend, not hostility. Hammig was enraged by Zug's action and rushed to support Astro, so he stepped towards Astro and shocked him hard, ordering him to fight Zug. As Zug advances, Hammig continues to shock Astro mercilessly. In a moment of tension, Zug hits the ground hard and Hammig falls to the ground, then approaches him as if he will kill him. But everyone is surprised when Astro intervenes and prevents him from harming Hammig, saving his life, despite what he did to him. This attitude changes the perception of Cora and her friends towards Astro. They realize that he is not just a machine, but has real feelings. Suddenly, a military plane lands inside the arena, and soldiers led by Stone exit, besieging the place. Stone orders Astro's capture, and Zug intervenes and grabs two soldiers and almost crushes them, but Astro stops him again, preferring to surrender so no one is hurt. Before boarding the plane, Astro apologizes to Cora and his friends for not telling them the truth. The guards take him to the plane, and they leave. Inside the headquarters, Stone Astro tells his intention to use the blue block to operate the Peacekeeper, the military robot that will make him control the ground and win the election. Stone arrives at the Ministry of Science, where he meets Dr. Tenma and Dr. Alvin. He orders them to take the blue mass out of Astro's body and put it in the Peacekeeper. Astro talks to Dr. Alvin, and he admits to him that he has not found a place in this world, so he no longer resists his fate. Alvin is affected and consoles him. Tenma then heads to Astro and puts it in a state of hibernation, extracting the blue mass from it. Astro bids him farewell before he crashes. In a moment of contemplation, Tenma is moved, but nevertheless hands over the block to Stone, just to take it again and give it to Dr. Alvin. When the guards can't find the block with Alvin, Tenma closes the separation wall, returns the mass to Astro's body and restarts it. When Astro wakes up, Tenma tells him that he knows that he is not the real Toby, but that he will remain his son in his eyes. He is asked to run away quickly. Astro sets off, frees himself, and destroys the space around him before fleeing away. After Stone was very agitated by what had happened, he took the red block and placed it in the Peacekeeper, to occupy him and order him to destroy Astro and bring in the blue block. But the surprise is that the Peacekeeper sucked Stone, and with a strange transformation, Stone became the same Peacekeeper. He began to absorb all the equipment around him until he became a giant and terrifying robotic monster. At the press conference, while everyone was waiting for President Stone to appear, the new monster came out to them. Everyone fled in terror, and the military forces intervened accompanied by the Spirit of Freedom, asking him to surrender, which increased his anger. Meanwhile, Astro realized the danger after seeing the explosions in the metro city, and rushed to save the city. Upon arrival, he found everything paralyzed, to face the Spirit of Freedom, that has become part of the giant robot that attacks him with firearms. Astro dodges the fire at the last minute, turning his arms into a plasma defender attacking Stone. During battle, Astro's friends realize what's happening and set out to help him. They arrive in time, while Astro fights Stone, who has become stronger and absorbed entire buildings to grow in size. Astro uses the trick to bring down a building on his opponent, but Stone responds violently and almost crushes him, had it not been for the intervention of friends at the crucial moment and their rescue of him. The group escapes while Stone pursues them, destroying everything, even power plants, leading to power outages and the fall of the city. Astro sacrifices himself and uses his full energy to take the city down safely to the ground, then returns to face Stone. At the crucial moment, Stone tries to absorb the blue mass inside Astro, but as it approaches the red mass, a massive explosion occurs that topples them. Tanma then checks on Astro and explains that the two blocks come together to lead to a devastating explosion that wipes out their energy together. At a critical moment, Stone manages to catch the car carrying Korra and her friends, and while danger threatens them, Astro sees the situation and says goodbye to his father, then drives at full speed towards Stone. Before Stone can do anything, Astro breaks into his body and merges the blue mass with the red mass in his heart. This fusion produces enormous energy. Stone throws the car away and tries to snatch Astro from within, but the lightning bolts explode in all directions, completely destroying the Peacekeeper, and the energy of the two masses is scattered in the sky. Everyone thinks that Astro has sacrificed his life, and Dr. Tenma, Korra and her friends are saddened. As the situation calms down, Stone is arrested for the destruction he caused. The people of the city start looking for Astro until they find him lying and broken, and everyone thinks he is dead. Alvin then shows up and explains to everyone that Astro was not just a robot, he had human feelings, and he sacrificed himself for them. Everyone loses hope of being saved, especially after the energy of the blue mass disappeared. But Zug intervenes and tells them that Astro had stored part of the blue energy inside him. Dr. Alvin suggests using this energy to reactivate Astro. Indeed, Zug provides him with energy, and the blue mass begins to generate energy again. Astro is resurrected to everyone's joy, embraces him with growth, then thanks Zug for saving him, and Korra and his friends embrace him with great joy. The whole city understands that Astro is a true hero, and they celebrate and salute him. In a surprising moment, a giant alien appears attacking the city. Astro sets off again to confront him, and the film concludes with a new heroic scene that hints at an adventure to come.